you guys last night. Michael Grady, who calls Timberwolves games on TV with Jim Peterson. It's. I assume you were calling the game with Jim Pete on Bally Sports North.
Yeah.
In like at the 50, top of the first level, which you're used to doing at Target Center after that switch. But the Crypto.com, formerly Staples, it has like a boxing arena, a Madison Square Garden boxing arena feel, where I think I saw you and Jim Pete, but it was super dark where you called the game. Is that the right area?
Yeah, they have the theater lighting. Yeah. There at Crypto.com Arena, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
You have the spotlight on the court, and there's the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's the show. So, all the lights are bright. You have the Lakers and their opponent, and it just makes everything center stage.
Yeah.
You dim the lights in the crowd or whatnot, and you watch the show.
Michael Grady, play-by-play voice for the Timberwolves on television, here with yours truly, the Beverly Hillbilly in Beverly Hills. Nice enough, fortunate enough to be able to stay here at the Timberwolves team hotel with my son, and we were at the game last night. We'll be there on a Tuesday night for the game against the Clippers. But last night's game, man, I mean, you're professional with what you do. You want the team to win because it just makes life more fun.
Yeah.
But when you lose Stifle Tower and slow-mo day of game, and then the things that have to adjust, and you're down cat, and then now you got guys playing extra minutes. And here, there was a point in the third period where I'm like, all right, this thing's going pear-shaped. We're going to have a little problem here. Then they fight back and they take the lead.
Yeah.
And then the fourth quarter, it just kind of fell apart. Did you see that coming, or what was the game like to call last night?
I didn't see them. I knew they would fight.
Yeah.
Given the way the Lakers, especially offensively, have been trending lately, I knew it would be quite the dogfight to stay in the game. So the fact that they were able to stay in it for 3 quarters, I thought was awfully impressive.
Yeah.
And to take a lead headed into the fourth quarter, really had Jim and I on the edge of our seat going, okay, what could happen here, right? And then there was just a lid on the basket in the fourth quarter. And then something that we felt would take place, I thought, early in the game really manifested itself in the fourth quarter was, without Rudy Gobert, as you mentioned, Karl Anthony Towns. We know that Anthony Davis is already a beast on the boards, and he just flexed his muscles there in that fourth quarter. So to have 25 rebounds in a game.
Well, 7 steals.
And you have, you're the biggest guy you have contending with him inside is 6'9".
Yeah.
So it was just tough.
Well, you got OG Anunoby, who's hurt, maybe watching the game, and then you got Bruce Bowen, who's retired, watching the game, and they're both like 7 steals. Hey, it's like it just doesn't happen often. And he, like LeBron, because I'll watch the Lakers generally last game of the day, chilling out before you go to bed, stuff like that. And LeBron has, immortality. All of immortality has this. It looks like they're sleepwalking. It looks like they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're not getting their team beat. But then all of a sudden there comes a point where the metaphorical switch flips, like last night. When he hit that 3 in front of the Wolves bench, it's like LeBron was just out there conserving energy, doing the best he can to keep it close. Oh, you're going to leave me open? Cool. Boom. Nailed it. But then after he had that length of the court pass where he threw my man open for the layup, well, that's when the pedal went to the metal. And I don't care if you're 30 whatever, 40 whatever. If God gifted you with those type of skills and you put the pedal to the metal, I don't care what your age is, you almost can't be stopped.
Yeah, and it's something that we'll continue to see from Anthony Edwards as he matures, and he's a budding superstar already, and it's such a joy to watch him play game in and game out. And what I love about him, Anthony Edwards, is that he's old school. He wants to play every single game,
right?
And he is going, as you said, pedal to the metal, full acceleration every single time. As you get older in this league, you understand how to pick your spots, how to conserve your energy. And so a guy as old as LeBron is in his 21st year in the NBA, he knows exactly what to do in terms of conserving his energy, so he saves his best for last. And we've seen that over the course of his career. We've certainly seen that as he's aged, and he put on a show last night. And this is a guy who, again, is in his 21st year. Who's to say he couldn't play another 4 or 5 years in the NBA doing what he's doing?
Right.
25, 7, and 8.
Right. And it was sneaky. They're always sneaky. and they're always sleepy. That's what I'm saying about LeBron is you don't think he's impacting the game greatly because he's not dunking on you like MJ or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you look down to the box score and you're like, hey, 23, 7, 8, 1 steal, 1 block, shot 55%, went to the line, made 6 of 7. You know what I'm saying?
And he's playing with so many talented players. You know, Anthony Davis is a generational talent. D'Angelo Russell, we know what he can do. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura has improved from 3-point range. They have other role players who are exceptional. And who's leading them in scoring? LeBron James.
Yeah, right. They've worked really hard to find the right mix to complement their MV2. I mean, it's 2.5. I mean, D'Angelo's a half, and in my opinion, with all due respect. But I mean, you got a couple of HOFs. But then whether it was Dennis Schroeder, now that didn't work. Is it Russell? Now that didn't work. And Reeves is a little in and out, but he was in last night. And like with Hachimura when they got him last year, so you could just tell what LeBron's doing. He's sensing he can see the finish line.
Yeah.
And the complementary talent, just ask Michael Jordan with Paxson and Kerr and Worm and stuff like that if you don't have those right guys, you ain't going to win the title, right?
Yeah, and they don't care where they finish in the standings. Of course, they would like to get out of a play-in situation. Anybody would. But if they end up with a 7 or 8 seed in the Western Conference, that's a team that doesn't fear anybody because that's a squad with so many players that have been to where their potential first-round opponent, whether it's OKC, whether it's the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's where they're trying to go. They're trying to prove to themselves that they can get to that point and get out of the first round, have deep postseason success. Yeah. And the Lakers have been there and done that, led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So they don't fear anybody. I think it's going to make for an unreal postseason
it's wide
in
open.
The NBA.
It's
just
the NBA
looking at the West alone, the fact we were talking about on the broadcast last night, that the Kings, the Mavericks, the Lakers, and the Warriors, if the season ended today, would all be in the play-in, which means that 2 of those teams would not make the postseason.
Yeah. It's one of these times whenever you get a chance, and then we're all settled in back in the Twin Cities. And, maybe during, the Wolves will be in the playoffs. I'd love to have you come by to just go back and forth on players that you see, because I just, you've triggered so much thought with me with what you say. It's like you mentioned Sacramento and Dallas. Arvydas' kid, DeMontis, has been good all of his career. He's otherworldly right now, and being at that game against the one that went to overtime against the Wolves, he fouled out. Okay, he has nice moves. He's fast. He can dribble. He can initiate the break as a big man. We all know that. He tips every rebound, just the nuance and little thing he does, just to get a hand on it to give somebody else a chance. You're right. I mean, and then you got Luka and Kyrie. You mentioned Dallas and Steph, obviously, and LeBron and AD and Jokic, the defending champions, and the Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards. And Embiid's down, and it's
OKC is coming,
right? I got to put them more prominent in the conversation, and I always
they're not
do that
afraid of anybody
because they're so young, right? And SGA, I mean, obviously is potentially generational, but like Sabonis with all these double and triple doubles, it's unbelievable how good he is right now.
He is, and he's he's a legit all-star snub.
Right, that was ridiculous.
And De'Aaron Fox is one of the better point guards in the NBA, and so they're going through a psychological battle right now because their record right now is on par with their record at this point last season. But last season, no one saw it coming. So they were a darling in the NBA, and the rhetoric surrounding the Sacramento Kings was how special and how amazing this is. They're going to make the postseason and end the drought.
Right.
This season, similar record from a season ago, but it's what's wrong with the Kings. So from a mental standpoint, it's been tough for them because last year, with a similar record, they were 3rd in the West.
Yeah.
The West is so much tougher this year, so now they're in that 7th spot.
Right.
So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Hey.
We haven't mentioned Phoenix yet. Phoenix is just outside the play-in as it stands right now.
Right.
Well.
I mean, and then you know better than anybody, man, because you've seen so much from Indiana through the Nets and so on, is when you get, now there have been injuries, but like Booker, Beal, and Durant, like, whoa, and Nurkic, are you kidding me with those 4? Who's going to beat them? Doesn't always work that easily when you have those type of polarizing 3, you know what I mean, with Beal, KD, and Devin Booker.
And the question with them that I had going in, one obviously was the point guard, but also when you have players like that, who's going to do the dirty work?
Yeah.
who's going to be willing
Great point.
to dive on the floor, box out, do all those thankless,
Drew
selfless jobs. You know what I mean?
Unless it's Isaiah Stewart, then there may be a fight.
A former Timberwolves guy, Josh Okogie, is one of those guys that fits the bill.
Yeah.
But if they're out there at the same time, that's who's going to lock in defensively, who's going to rebound, who's going to do all the dirty work things. And
right.
It's one of the things I like about the Timberwolves. They have a good system, and when at full strength, they have guys who are willing to do whatever it takes. Conley will dive on the floor for a loose ball. He's an excellent screener for a point guard. Rudy Gobert, you mentioned the tap outs with Sabonis. He does all those little things as well to impact winning on both ends of the floor. So no, I sincerely hope the Wolves are at full strength as we come to the end of the regular season, because
it's so good.
At full strength, they can tussle with just about anybody.
Dumb question, I should know this. When T.J. Warren was going for about 18 to 20 for the Pacers, were you with the Pacers then?
I had left at that point, so I was in Brooklyn. I was in my second year in Brooklyn at the time, but I was watching it just like everybody else when he went on that heater. First team all bubble, which is kind of funny to say at this point. They actually had a all bubble team.
Rashawn Holmes should have been on it for ordering the pizza and getting in trouble and leaving the bubble. What's his first bubble news we get? Rashawn Holmes did what? He left the bubble to pick up a pizza? Crazy.
And meanwhile, T.J. Warren was serving everybody in the bubble. So he just had 39 points against the Lakers in one game, had 53 against Philadelphia, averaged 31 points. So he is a professional scorer, and it has been fun to watch him step in and fit in smoothly.
I found myself pulling for him last night.
Yes.
Even I was close to the court, even a couple up. Let's go, man.
Yeah.
I feel with the feet injuries and who he was, and he's a natural scorer. And he had a couple of sneaky moves last night. Could tell his legs got tired, and he was coming up short on things. TJ can score. I mean, it's like, I don't want to say it's found gold, but I mean, if you can get even a little of that to work out, needing bench pop, TJ was a fantastic scorer like 4 years ago.
Yes, and so you just want him to ramp up, get the conditioning right so that you can count on him if you need him for heavy minutes in an important game as time goes on. Same thing with Monte Morris. He didn't see a lot of time this season dealing with injuries when he was in Detroit. Traded here, knew he had to get his conditioning right, now dealing with a soft tissue injury. So you want Monte Morris out there because he's a sure-handed guy who can knock down shots, a veteran who has playoff experience. And if TJ Warren is ready to go to be able to play extended minutes, he can greatly impact games. For
My
sure.
man, you are fantastic. You know what I think of your play-by-play work.
My man.
And I appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. Let's do it more often.
Always good to see you, PA. Thank you, brother.
God bless you, Michael. Appreciate you. Michael Grady, TV play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We are into the penultimate. And Jonny Athletic, who's on the trip with the Timberwolves. You saw him on TV last night. He also covers the team for the Athletic. We're going to chat with Jonny Athletic around the corner about myriad topics, including the Howl on KFAN. What do you? It's not what do you enjoy more, the TV hits with Valley Sports North, or the crafting of stories for The Athletic, covering the Minnesota Timberwolves and writing about the NBA and everything. And contrary to what YA, young Alec, will share with us 9 to noon, Alec Lewis, I don't think all of your LEDs, all of your leads begin with it was a dark and gloomy evening at LA Live, comma, then a non-essential clause, then a split infinitive, and then undoubtedly ending with a prepositional phrase. I don't believe I may have all your albums. I don't believe they all go like that. But nevertheless, when you get the opportunity to do the Valley Sports North sideline stuff, that Leah B. Olson does, Katie does, Marnie has done for many years at a very high level. Do you seem to really enjoy that?
I do, PA. It's something totally different. I do not feel natural at all with it. And
what do you mean?
Yeah,
you're the bomb.
It's fish out of water, man.
When I was trying to take that picture of you last night, and I eventually had to ask you to stop. Hey, can you stop for a second? Because you're just like, you're excited, you're fidgety, you're listening to what's in your ear, and you want to get the time. I could just feel it from 20 feet away, everything you were going through.
There's a lot of things that you have to work through, especially in the first half. You got these live hits and stuff, and so I'm trying to plan everything and make sure I have it, and I'm bouncing off the walls. So I have such great appreciation for Marnie and Katie and all those people who do it just make it look natural and feel natural, because it's not that way. So it's really fun, like, because it's challenging to me. I don't feel comfortable. I'm trying to learn something new, but yeah, you're in the middle of it, and it's so much more pressure for me than writing. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, because you have a hot in and out.
Yes.
And you might have somebody talking in your ear while you're talking.
And there's arena noise, and so I'm not hearing everything.
Yeah.
And
you got Lawrence Tanter going, the Laker girls.
That's
and you're like,
right.
hey. Okay, yeah, back to you guys.
Yeah.
John Krawczynski, staple family member, FM 100.3 KFAN. Listen to him with Bumper to Bumper early in the weeks. And John is on the road covering the Wolves for The Athletic, not staying at the team hotel, but was nice enough to get his way over here to join 9 to noon for the final segment and a half. And The Athletic and theathletic.com is where, of course, you can follow him. That Twitter handle, once again, is?
At JONKRAWCZYNSKI.
Wow, that's aggressive. But so off the Lakers game into the Clippers game. Now with the TV piece. I mean, seriously, the first time, I don't know if it was your first time, but like first time Carl.
Yeah.
Right, it's TV immortality.
Yes.
Because Carl, whether you're into his game, not into his game, into him, not into him, whatever, that was as genuine and authentic as when he looked around for, like, who's talking to me, and then he looked down. And then he goes, wait, that's you.
Yeah.
And you're wearing different clothes. I mean, wow, you look great. I mean, he was so authentic and real. Remember that?
I do remember it. It was a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
And what you do realize is, I've been around the team 20 years. I know Carl since he was drafted. We get along very well, and we have a great relationship, all that stuff. But when you are on TV, it's not just a big deal for my kids at home or my family or maybe even fans who are excited to see me. Like, the players actually get excited about it. Like, oh my gosh, this is your time to shine. And
that's awesome.
So it was very cool of Carl to do that, and it was a cool, it was a genuine moment. Like,
and really you may tweet or write something that somebody pretends they don't see, or pretend somebody doesn't tell them, and they're pissed off at it. Maybe they actually have the confidence to come up and go, bruh, why you got to put it like this? Okay, you've done this multiple decades, so I'm sure you've faced that more than a handful of times. On the other side of it is athletes and teams and people who do what we do. You write, I broadcast. To a certain extent, we crave routine.
Yeah.
And not a large group around you, but the group that is around you, whether you're covering them, working with them or not, there's just inherently, I've learned, there's kind of a natural tightness. Like, okay, you're around a lot. It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can trust you, but you're like part of it without being like a team kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Is because you've been part of it for so long. And to hear you say that about the players, thinking that's cool, opportunity, supplemental income, stuff like that, I just think that's fantastic, man, because it just makes the job easier, Yeah,
and as you know, PA, like, in this day and age with media being so volatile, like, you never know it changes every day. And so to be able to do different things, podcast, radio, write, do some TV, you just have to be able to be versatile. And so that's, for me, part of the hustle is I just want to make sure that I'm as well-rounded as I can be, and
and respected.
Whatever happens, and I can hopefully take care of my family, and roll with the punches no matter what goes on.
Well, I apologize for being look at Twitter guy while somebody's talking.
Sure.
It's legal tampering day.
That's it. Let's go.
Change reportedly is like nearly pen to paper with the Atlanta Falcons. So that started like 10, 15 minutes ago. And, you got just a lot of things going on with the NFL right now. So that's why I'm just peeking at so many things like that. And, how closely do you look at like NFL free agency? I mean, I know you pay attention to and cover a lot. You could talk about a lot because I hear you with Dan. But like with NFL free agency, how closely do you look at it this time of the year?
Yeah, normally, almost every year, I'm all the way in on it. I'm trying to help young Alec with some insight and like do some reporting and all of that stuff. This year, to be honest, with where the Wolves have been, with kind of all of that going on, I'm kind of more following it from afar. I'm not embedded in the reporting end of things as much, but certainly highly interested in following what happens with the Purple and Cousins, and are they going to go get this D tackle? What are they going to be doing to try and bolster what happened coming off of this last year and trying to figure things out. So I'm following it closely, but just I'm not making the calls every day and trying to work sources like I usually do, just because the Wolves are in such a high leverage spot right now.
15 to go, right?
15 to go, 16, I think.
Yeah, 16 to go. Clippers tomorrow night, and there's just kind of been an unspoken common thread doing 9 to noon today, which was 7 to 10 in the morning Beverly Hills time, from Jim Peterson through where we are now. The pressure and just this time of the year, 16 to go, bodies and minds are worn down, and that includes coaches. I mean, you get a coach who gets sick, and Mike Inori eventually jumps in Cleveland and coaches his first game since, I think, Nuggets Summer League X amount of years ago. And this is a fascinating time of the year in pro sports, because you're very close to it. So you hear and feel a lot of things that we will never know about, because that's just how the job works. But at this time of the year, and the pressure and the bodies and the minds, I mean, can you sense it and feel it being next to it?
Yeah, there's two things on that, PA. First of all, right now they are in a grueling part of the schedule. 4 back-to-backs coming out of the All-Star break. And one of the beauties about being on the road with the team and being in a visiting locker room with just a few media and stuff is you really get a feel for where the team is at vibes-wise. And I do think that right now these guys are a little worn down. Conley is banged up, and he's not playing like he normally does. You have Rudy, Kyle, Monte Morris all out with kind of soft tissue things that happen when you've played just a ton of minutes and that start adding up. And I think that people are a little bit exhausted. Now, this week in LA will be huge for them because they don't have to travel for the entire week. And so this could be an opportunity for them to recharge a little bit. But the other facet of this is a team and an organization that has not been in, hey, we're the number 1 seed, we're the number 2 seed type of leverage much at all. Now, you have Rudy and Mike, who have both been in it with their respective teams, but a lot of the people that are doing this are doing it for the first time. And so when you have so much riding on it, I think the organization is trying to adjust to it. I think they're trying to figure out what life is like at the top of the food chain, when usually this time of year, at best, they're trying to scratch and claw for that play-in type of situation. That's a different kind of pressure that they're having to deal with on a nightly basis.
How much do you trust Oklahoma City when it comes to advancing through the postseason?
Well, I think it's all matchups for them, too, kind of similar to the Wolves. Like, if the Wolves are healthy, I like the Wolves in that series. I just think the one thing that, to me, will be interesting, PA, is if Oklahoma City gets in as a 1 or 2 and they face the Lakers in the first round, with how big they are, that's going to be a problem for Oklahoma City. I think that anytime they face a team that has some muscle to it, that can rebound, that can get physical with you, that's going to, I think, put pressure on their young bodies. They're really, Chet is great, but he's really skinny, gets moved around a lot. They don't have a lot of weight to throw around. So that's the one thing that I worry about for them. But if they get the Warriors, if they get the Kings, if they get the Mavericks, if they get teams like that are smaller, I really like what they're able to do just discipline-wise, playing late in fourth quarters with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. All that would be good. But if they face a big team, Denver's another one, I don't like the chances with those.
If the Wolves, and this is, I'm not a big hypothetical guy, but I'm going to hit you with one nevertheless. If Gobert plays last night, the Wolves win.
It's a real possibility.
I mean, honestly, because AD has double-double, probably steals 4, probably blocks 3. But nevertheless, there were so many putbacks, like Nas blocking AD twice, okay? And then I think they ended up with the ball. But it's like the ancillary things that you just know Gobert closes on. I honestly think that the Wolves would have beaten them last night had Rudy played.
Entirely possible, because you saw, especially in the fourth quarter, AD got every offensive rebound. And he was just like, he's just bigger and stronger than Nas. Luka was in there for a minute, like all that. And so having Rudy there would help. The other part, the Lakers shot 67% in the first half. That's not happening with Rudy in the middle, because Mike Conley told us after the game, he said, we have spent all year where Rudy tells everyone where they need to be defensively. If you make a mistake, he's the one calling out to you, hey, no, get back out there, I got you in the paint. And they've been leaning on that all year long. When you take that away and take the quarterback of their defense away, now they're a little bit their heads are spinning. They don't have that central figure to calm everything down and direct traffic. And I think that was a big reason that they had so many defensive breakdowns in the first half last night.
Do you? I mean, you've seen so much of it where it's like, and his 3-point shooting percentage over his career is well above average. I mean, it's been dynamite. Now, he and a lot of others, all the way back to, I think, that Clippers game, they're just missing so many open shots right now. Yeah. And like Edwards hit a 3 right in front of where I was sitting. I'm like, come on, man, get hot. So is it as easy to say, like with Conley, who's missing a lot of open threes, you just know it's coming, that sooner or later, if you leave them open, guys like that will get hot? Do you believe that?
Yeah, I think so, because they have the resumes to do it. Like, Conley's been doing this for 16 years. So, you look at the first 40 games of the season, he shot 45% from 3. Dude. Now, the last in March, he's at 19%. So this is just a dip, and now part of that is I think he's worn down a little bit. Part of it is you don't have Karl Anthony Towns, so defenses can load up a little bit more and move around. So the shots are harder generally that they're taking, but you're still seeing Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley even, and swing, wide open shot, and they're missing it. So yes, I think that part of that will eventually turn around. And
it has to.
Yeah, they're too good of shooters not to happen. Unfortunately, right now, there's several of them that are going through the slumps at the same time, and that's what's killing them when you also don't have Karl Anthony Towns.
The Wolves get a lot of corner threes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the analytical percentage would be compared to other teams, but going through a season where, Finchie's like, ball is sticky. Then it's like, talking about the superstar, immature moment, ball got sticky, we'll all learn from it. I'm like, damn, what a relationship he has with Anthony. He's basically said, immature, no, you're not immature. That was an immature moment. Surrogate dad, surrogate boss, your coach, the whole thing. I mean, that's such a difficult line, to that balance to run, and Chris does it really well, A, and B, with the best guy on the team. I just love that. But, when it so ball movement, it seems to be better of late than it has been, because they're getting all these wide open corner threes.
Yeah, they moved the ball really well last night for the most part. I think there are still times where Ant is 22 years old and he's like, I'm going to do something to really wow you. Now, against Indiana, that worked, right? Yeah. I mean, you just needed that in that moment. Like, I'm going to take over. I'm going to be the best player, and he did it.
Yeah, he's the bomb.
But then there are times where he can force it, and then it does stagnate things. And I think the key going forward for him is he's going to have to keep trusting his teammates that even when drive, kick, Jaden, wide open 3, clank, that eventually that's going to fall. Because if you keep doing the right process, the results will take care of themselves. But it's hard in the moment, especially for young players, to be like, this hasn't worked. Now I got to put it all on my shoulders. And so that's the balance that he works. I think he's been doing pretty well with it of late, but there are still stretches where it's just like, okay, I'm going to put this thing all on my shoulders and take us there, and that's a hard thing to do.
When Anthony, I think if you talk to a lot of people around the league, and I shouldn't say that because you cover the league and I don't, but I don't think a lot of people are going to hear Anthony Edwards and immediately be like, yeah, really good defensive player.
Yeah.
But, I mean, seriously, when he puts the pedal to the metal on defense, when he tries on defense and something has pissed him off, the game's on the line, something like that, his defense can be absolutely terrific on the perimeter.
He's the best shot-blocking shooting guard in the league.
Ooh, really? More so than Derek White?
Yeah, I think so. Just in terms of, the way that he sees it and the explosiveness that he gets to it.
White's a point guard.
And White's a point guard. But number 2 is, I do believe, like you said, when he is locked in, and when you see it, you can see it when he gets in front of him, he's in a crouch, and he's eye to eye, and he says, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a better perimeter defender in the league. Now,
like Torian Prince on Anthony last night.
Yeah.
I mean, Torian, he got beat a couple of times, but, it was right in front of me, and Torian meant business last night.
Yeah. There are those moments where he sinks his teeth into a guy and says, I'm coming for you, and you're not going to do anything. And he's strong, and he's quick, and he can do it. Now, he does still have the flighty off-the-ball stuff. He loses and things like that, and that's all part of the process, but he can dig in, and I've seen him do it against Tatum. I've seen him do it against Luka. I've seen him do it against all of the really good players, Mikal Bridges. He shuts them down when it's time to get a stop. He knows how to do it.
he has bit to him, as I learned last night. Okay, so it's right in front of where I'm sitting with my son Derek, and LeBron was all that confusion under the basket. Did the ball hit the stanchion or something? It's like 15 feet away from me so I can hear him. LeBron is impassioned trying to make a case, and, there's going to be an intimidation factor for a majority of these refs, whether they want to admit it or not, outside of like Scott Foster, with LeBron talking to them critically the way he was. And Edwards basically was 2 feet away saying the exact opposite thing, maybe not even believe. LeBron would say something and he goes, yeah, but you can't overcall it because of this. And then LeBron finally looked at him and wanted to say shut up, but he just smiled.
Yes.
And I'm like, Anthony got bit. I mean, it's he just ran a bit for like 45 seconds. It was elite.
He does not think that anyone deserves the game, the attention more than him all the time.
Yeah.
It's I still remember second year when they got the playoffs the first time with him, and Jimmy Butler is in town with Miami and tried to bully him a little bit and tried to bump him, and Ant stood toe to toe with him, didn't back down. Like, that's the kind of mentality that he has. He is not. There's no one more confident in his own abilities than Anthony Edwards is of his, and it doesn't matter if it's LeBron, it doesn't matter if it's Steph. Like, there'll be many times in a game, close game, late in the game, he'll say, "Hey Jaden, I've got De'Aaron Fox. Hey Jaden, I've got Kyrie Irving."
Yeah.
Hey, he wants the smoke. He wants to bring that, and that's the kind of mentality that when think about it, he's 22. When he's 25, 26, how that is going to really manifest itself, I think that's future's pretty bright for him.
My brother, I'll see you Tuesday. You're at the Tuesday game, right?
I will be there.
No Bally Sports North, though. It's TNT.
No Bally. Yep, just
I'll see you at
the
the game, and I'll listen to you. Is it later or tomorrow with Barrero?
I think it'll be later today. We're still working that out.
Sweet.
Yep.
Appreciate you, Johnny.
Yep. Thanks, brother.
Johnny Athletic, John Krawczynski from the Timberwolves Team Hotel in Old Beverly Hills and SoCal. The Minnesota Vikings have a new member of the Covenant via free agency, reportedly. We will share with you who that is and put a wrap on the show after this. What do you got? You got pretty excited with that text message you sent me about this game-changing defensive end. What do we have?
Well, the Vikings have signed now former Texans pass rusher Jonathan Greenard and the news that I'm seeing here, it is a 4-year deal, PA, for $76 million. That includes $42 million guaranteed. So Jonathan Greenard in his 4 years with the Texans. 48 games, 32 of them starts. Most recently, he had an injury-hampered 2022. He played 15 games this last season, had 12 and a half sacks. As part of that budding that Texans defense that was certainly on the come as part of their playoff season. So,
well, this clearly is somebody the Minnesota Vikings identified well in front of the free agency process, and you're getting somebody into their second deal, which is that's the right time to get somebody. With the fair question being, why? So after it was a third-round pick, I think, maybe a second or third in like 19 or 20.
Yeah, it was a third-rounder 2020.
Okay. And Greenard, it's, how am I going to put this? It's he can sack the quarterback and he has position flexibility, but it's just, maybe because Will Anderson was in the mix, Jerry Hughes was in the mix either now or before that. He kind of got overshadowed, at least in my estimation, but he's an AFC player. So it's not like, we're following the Texans on a game-by-game basis, but now having called up his stats from last year, one thing I do remember about him, because I saw some highlights of an NFL Network of him making big plays, but of his sacks last year, 5.5 of them took place in 3 of the final 4 games. So, they're really, the Texans were bump and grind last year, man, to win games, to solidify certain things, and they went loss, win, loss, win, loss. But they won 3 in a row in early to middle November. And Greenard caught fire at the end of the year. looking at his play count and stuff like that, and how much they counted on him.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what we're going to be getting in him. But that guaranteed piece of 40 and change, 42 and change, or whatever, that caught me off guard when you said that, man.
Well, I think when you mentioned that maybe he was overshadowed, I mean, he only played in 8 games 2 years ago, right? And so you go back to 2021, his second year in the league, and 8 sacks. That's not a massive number like we're accustomed to with a certain guy that might no longer be here moving forward. But in 12 games, he gets 8 sacks 3 seasons ago. So it's like you're seeing productivity on the field with this cat when he's healthy and able to make all the dances. So, but with that said, I mean, you know what that does is that tells you maybe what number 99 is looking for, because the 4 and 76 is 19 a year, and more than half of it, 42, is going to be guaranteed. And so, however that structure looks, eventually, those sorts of things will present themselves. But that's what kind of a couple of things here is, if you're paying Jonathan Greenard that, what are you going to do with Daniil? Maybe that answers that question immediately. It brings up to me as well, though, in terms of, looking forward into 2024, what's up with DJ Wanham? Is DJ Wanham going to be another option there? Is this still this is an unsettled situation with the Minnesota Vikings front? You allocate $42 million guaranteed to Jonathan Greenard. Does that mean Christian Wilkins would be then out of the mix as well? So many different little pathways to take this thing.
Well, and with the names you just mentioned, it's I think copyright Ricky Rubio changing our faces or wrapping our minds around the increase on the salary with the salary cap. Because like Baker got 50 promised, which a few years ago could have been 30 whatever promised, but that's what they gave him, A, to keep him, but B, because the salary cap keeps going up. Now the same thing with Greenard here, and I can't even venture a guess as to what Christian Wilkins and or Daniil Hunter are going to get in free agency. Likewise for Kirk Cousins, who could be negotiating with the Atlanta Falcons right now, but I think it's interesting just, having, I can't put Greenard on any monstrous moments that I can remember. So looking at, the 12.5 sacks last year, I just think it's very interesting. They add Will Anderson. They add a legitimate big-time defensive player, and Greenard's numbers jump up, when he's not necessarily getting as much attention as he may have gotten his first 2.5, 3 years. So that, very interested to see what the team thinks about him, Jonathan Greenard.
Yeah, and that's where, whether it's guys having contract years, right? Like Bryce Huff, I mentioned him last week. That was a name when he kind of jumps in his last year with the Jets. Well, what went into that? The rock star cornerback tandem behind them, other pass rushing options, Quinnen Williams and what they have going with the Jets. It's like, is Bryce Huff ready to go be a patriarch staple guy on an island on his own somewhere else? We certainly do not have, at this stage, we don't have a Will Anderson to maybe take some of the heat off of Mr. Greenard. So, but again, in terms of free agency, the biggest eye-opener part of this so far for me is just, cap jump, more than 10%. And these guys are getting a lot of dollars. Jonathan Greenard, kind of meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I know about him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm Mark Vandermeer and, I know everything inside and out about the Houston Texans. I know who Greenard is. I'm looking forward to learning more about him. And I'm also following things today on KFAN of how they go in NFL free agency. It's been an absolute pleasure doing the radio show here from the Timberwolves Team Hotel in Beverly Hills in Southern California. It's an honor to be your favorite or least favorite Beverly Hillbilly. Aaron Freeman and the Timberwolves public relations staff, thank you very much for your assistance. And most importantly to everybody, thank you very much for listening. For Nordo, I'm Paul Allen. Have a wonderful day.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.